past. Yet, my struggle remained the same. Pain intensified. Sacrifices multiplied. It is true, my heart is wounded. It is true, the chains of oppression are held too tight. It is true, my sufferings mark all violations of human rights. But it is also true that no matter how hard the journey may be, my steps were never broken, never a slope. Yearning for freedom, I never break. I never stop. I never lose hope.
In 1950, India agreed to amend its constitution to grant the part of Kashmir that it administers, India's only Muslim-majority state.
For the last 73 years, betrayal of the will of Kashmiri people has been a sharp-edged reality. 5th August 2020 marks 1 year of yet another such betrayal.
अनुच्छेद 370 के सभी खंड लागू नहीं होंगे.
Indian Home Minister Amit Shah told Parliament that Article 370 was revoked. Kashmir was stripped of its special status.
This is an attack on the constitution.
Modi government has betrayed the people of Jammu Kashmir.
This decision is a slap in the face of secularism.
History will not spare you.
The wrath of Hindutva was unleashed upon oppressed Kashmiris. The valley was flooded with tens and thousands of trigger-happy soldiers. Brutal crackdowns, unlawful arrests, barbaric killings and forced abductions made mockery of India's dubious secular conscience. Immediate lockdown and a curfew was imposed, putting the valley behind a curtain of terror so the globe would not learn the truth. All in vain. Now is the time for the world to know about what exactly has happened and why.
In order to understand what and why, we should first understand Article 370 and its significance.
Article 370 of the Indian Constitution was introduced in 1949.
Article 370 basically was pursuant to paragraph 4 and 7 of the Instrument of Accession, which basically meant that the accession was never absolute. It was a conditional accession.
The people of Kashmir had the choice under Article 370 about which provisions of the Indian Constitution would be applicable to them.
This was a ploy that India had used to put a curtain on its illegality in Kashmir.
Article 35A was also introduced into the Indian Constitution in 1954. It allowed the people of Kashmir, and according to their choice, it restricted the amount of property that non-Kashmiris could hold in Kashmir. It allowed Kashmir to have its own citizenship, to have its own flag, to have autonomy over its own internal matters.
As a result of the abrogation of the Article 370, Kashmir loses all autonomy and control to New Delhi. Legality of the action is under a serious question mark.
Hollowing out of Article 370 and Article 35A is not acceptable to international community because it violates international law laid down in several Security Council resolutions in respect of disposition of this land relating to Indian occupied Kashmir. If you make an attempt through domestic law to circumvent international obligations, it will not be acceptable by the international community. Therefore, one notices not even a single capital has issued a statement endorsing 5th August presidential order.
This was in itself was an illegality to cover up one illegality.
The present fashion in which a dispute is attempted to be handled is completely in defiance of the right of self-determination and the human rights of Kashmiris, and also it threatens the peace of the region.
The abrogation of Article 370 generated massive reactions both in India and the Valley. Indian fascist leadership has been vocal about their agenda.
Over several years, over several governments, we have completed the job.
Sane voices of India, however, opposed this action.
In the constitutional history of India, this will be a black day, and history will prove you to be wrong, and future generations will realize what a grave mistake this House is making today.
This is a very, very big assault on the Constitution of India, on democracy, on secularism, and also on federalism.
Even the pro-Indian Kashmiri leadership could not agree with Modi's strategy anymore.
My India is a democratic India, secular India for all.
I feel today is the blackest day of Indian democracy.
You know, this new insult, this new phase of indignation has begun on 5th August 2019, and it's my generation which has now got the taste of betrayal.
Kashmir want freedom! Kashmir want freedom!
These illegal actions expose the fascist ideology of Modi's government.
The fascist ideology of the Modi regime is Hindutva, is perhaps the most dangerous, the most existential threat that we as members of the global community face today.
India, since independence, has been presenting itself as a secular country. But the fact remains that India has always been a Hindu state.
Hindutva and Hinduism are absolutely unrelated. The term Hindutva itself is a fairly recent construct, which owes its origins to the theories propounded by one Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. Taking inspiration from Nazism and fascism, Savarkar's theory of Hindutva was one that was based on religious profiling rather than racial profiling. Slowly and gradually, this ideology has morphed into its current day form. After the partition, these devotees of the philosophy of Hindutva were the ones who vehemently opposed the protected status of Kashmir.
The people of India are today suffering from Modi's Hindutva ideology.
This is going to be something similar to the final solution that the Nazis envisaged for the Jews in 1940s. The repeal of Article 370 and 35A enables people to migrate to this area, to occupy this area, and we already hear of Sangh Abadis which are cropping up over there. Something which they've taken a leaf out of the book of Zionism, perhaps.
And right now, it's India's plan of the current regime that through full force, through every form, they are through military might, through lawfare, through their government in power, they are going to use all forms to literally marginalize the people of that land, the heirs of that land, who are the Kashmiris, and make the Indians, especially the Hindutva followers, into a majority in Jammu and Kashmir. And when plebiscite is exercised, we people, the Kashmiris, will become extinct or marginalized or become a minority, and the occupying force and the occupiers coming from India will become the majority. So that is the game plan. I am afraid that the people of India are not realizing what the Modi regime is doing to India, what it's doing to the minorities and to the neighbors. So we must all join hands as global citizens and become one and raise a voice for legitimate causes like the Kashmiri struggle and fight for peace together and help us save the Kashmiris.
They have been fighting for too long. They have sacrificed so much for their cause. Now, they have nothing to lose but their cause. They can't lose it. They won't.